everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. It is time for yet another comics haul. I was lucky enough to be able to go into town yesterday, actually, and go to Comic Hunter, go see Mark there, and spend a lot of time waiting for my girlfriend to finish work so we can drive back to our new home off island. And made some finds. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the dollar bin finds. So just started a Stephen Platt run. I don't have that many issues, so I was pretty happy. Many issues drawn by Stephen Platt, so I was happy to find this one. I've got issue 5, so I've got one more to go, and I could stretch out the Stephen Platt reviews a little bit with that. Next, we've got Ninjak number 2. Only reason I bought this, it was $1. And it is Joe Quesada art, some really beautiful stuff. Actually, the art on Ninjak from Joe Quesada is pretty stellar. Unfortunately, he only stuck around for issue 1 and 2. Even issue 3, I think, is another artist. Yeah, so I have issue 1, don't have issue 2, so grab that for $1 for sure. Next, I was happily surprised to find some Creed. So I did a review recently, Wildcard Week, of Creed, I think it's issue 2 from Lightning Comics. To find issue 1 already in a dollar bin, that's pretty great. I mean, I don't think these things were printed a lot. I could be wrong on that. But I was actually surprised to see it in a dollar bin, but again, had to pick it up. And was lucky enough to also get issue number 2. Not sure if this is the same issue with a different cover or a variant cover, but I got it anyways for $1. Just the cover looks pretty darn cool. Worth it. And issue number 3 here from Lightning. So I don't know if that's the complete miniseries or how that works. I also found Creed Mechanical Evolution. I'm going with dates here. That was coming after because it's signed here 99, and this is from a different publisher, Gearbox. Seem to have slightly more professional kind of look overall to the presentation, at least to the comic. And then found out that in 01, I guess, or somewhere around there, he actually did a Creed series for Image. So there you go. I was not even aware of that. So I guess there's a lot more Creed out there that I know about. So I should look into maybe checking out a checklist, seeing if I can get all that for pretty cheap. It's getting harder and harder to find 90s comics in dollar bins and for cheaper prices. So when I can find some good stuff, I grab it. Don't know how good this is or not, but again, for $1, it is Crypt, Stephen Platt's character. The cover just kind of grabbed me. It's Chap Yape doing his best Rob Liefeld. I think he's one of the better kind of Rob Liefeld clones who eventually kind of moved into his own style. But this here is looking like a hybrid of Rob Liefeld and Stephen Platt, I would say, inked by Danny Miki, which maybe helps. But just a powerful cover, and you know, the whole story of Crypt is kind of shrouded in lore and mysteriousness, and you know, Stephen Platt doesn't want the toy ever to be made again. I think I have a Crypt toy, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I do have that for kind of those same reasons, because it's so rare and he's never been republished, and Stephen Platt owns the rights and no one else can do anything with anything that was published back then. So guess it wouldn't be worth it for anyone if the Crypt comics are in the dollar bin. This, I've got 1 or 2 issues already, I'm not quite sure, but I love Liam Sharp's art, so I just decided to go for all of the ones they had. So they had issue 1, I've got issue 2, number 3, number 4, again, all dollar bin finds, right? So again, Death's Head is a 90s comic you can still get for really cheap, if you're going for that 90s vibe, which I definitely feel like it has. 6... This point, still Liam on the cover, Liam Sharp. Not sure if this is him because I can't... Oh, yeah, okay, so there's a signature. So still him with issue 7. And then with issue 8, I feel like that's not him. Pretty sure that's not him. So maybe, you know, that's where the series ends or where the quality started going down. But I got it anyways to kind of have that first run, even though it might not be Liam Sharp. For $1, it was worth grabbing. Not the price, right? Metaphysique by Norm Brayfog. I love his art. I found a bunch of his stuff for Metaphysique in the dollar bins. This is yet another example. I'm not even sure if this is like a second Metaphysique miniseries. It says session 2, so I assume maybe it is, or Norm Brayfog was part of the second wave of Bravura back then. I don't know. Bravura, another company trying to copy Image a little bit, right? Just like when Dark Horse had Legend, right? The Legend imprint. It was basically, you know, I don't want to say retaliation, but in reaction to Image, right? So the older artists kind of banded together and said, hey, we can do Image kind of stuff too. It's a little too late though. The young guns are the ones who broke through and made the millions. I don't know how much all these other guys, like, for example, Norm Brayfogle, who was in there, Howard Chaykin, John Byrne, how many of those millions that they were able to reap? Probably not a lot. But anyways, love Norm Brayfogel's art, so any Metaphysique I can find, either from Bavura or earlier, because he did some of that stuff at Epic, I grab. So these are some interesting dollar bin finds. Deathmate. No one would argue that these are, in any way good or great comics. They're all right. I'm mostly, again, buying them for the art, right? And the novelty of this kind of alternate universe where the idea was Image and Valiant kind of merged, right? A lot of great artists participated, even though just for a few pages in most of these Deathmate issues, in the epilogue and the prologue. The gold and blue, was it, were taken care of by Valiant. Didn't bother to pick those up. I mean, it's all Valiant artists. I never really liked Valiant artists. Even Barry Windsor Smith does some stuff in these, but it's inked by someone else, and just, yeah, it doesn't really grab me. The Image guys are the ones doing it, except for Joe Q, who at that time was working for Valiant. So definitely going to pick up Deathmate Red for $1, right? And please don't scoff at the price, but I grabbed this one for $12, and everyone's going to be like, well, what? Deathmate Black? It's a little rarer, but I don't think it's worth $12. I'm not sure if it is or not. I haven't looked it up, but this is Mark at Comic Hunter. Has a section of everything so well organized. He's got a whole section of signed comics, right? So I was going through it. I always do every time I go. And I spotted this. I'd seen it before, still there. $12 is pretty decent for something signed by, I'm pretty sure it's Wills Portasio that I see his signature here. Also, it is actually the first appearance of Gen 13 in print in an actual story, right? But not J. Scott Campbell's first printed artwork, which is in the Homage. What is it called? I forget. I can see the cover. The Homage kind of, introduction to the artist and stuff. It's a whole comic book with bios of the artist. Anyways, the name escapes me. So yeah, that was the reason to get this. And again, Deathmate Black seems to be, out of all the Deathmates, the one that's a bit rarer. And cool Mark Silvestri cover here, inked by Jim Lee, which I think is a pretty darn good combination. I think Jim Lee has a better handle on keeping Silvestri slightly rougher hatching and rougher look to the artwork that I prefer, like when he was doing Wolverine and stuff, than Scott Williams does when he's inking Silvestri. It ends up being a little bit slicker and looking more like Jim Lee, where in a weird way, Jim Lee inking Mark Silvestri looks more like Mark Silvestri. Very odd. So I think that does it for dollar bins. So the next stuff, every time again in that signed comic section, I would see this. I thought it kind of looked interesting. It was fun, kind of outsider art, but a pretty high level. So I finally grabbed it this time for $5, can't miss. And the art inside it's black and white, but I do believe it is the same artist. It looks pretty darn good. And this one is signed as well on the interior cover. Near the signed comic section at Comic Hunter, there's also a parody comic section. Found the Kill Marvel comic from back in the 90s by, oh man, he's going to hate me if I don't say his name, right? I'm kidding. Hart D. Fisher. It escaped me in the moment. But yeah, so I had to check this out. I can't wait to read this. Kind of notorious comic. I was wondering why it said as is for $4. I found out when I got to the end of it. Ooh, it's got a nasty big fold there. You can see that. But not the end of the world. Still, I think a pretty good deal for $4. Next, we've got another parody comic. This is kind of hilarious to me. Wartblade. So it's a play on Witchblade, right? From Mark Silvestri's studioed Image. And it's actually inked here by Cleary, but the art on the inside is him. Because there's another name credited first here on the cover. But again, I do think it's inked by Cleary, and the interior art is by Cleary. Cleary, one of those guys, kind of started out as a Todd McFarlane clone, excuse me. I've talked about him before on the show, and I'm kind of building a backlog of his stuff from the 90s, and I'll be reviewing that stuff at some point in the future. And occasionally just trying to fill up some runs. So this whole Armor Wars storyline, I was just missing this issue, so eventually I can actually read those and review them, which I will do once I get to John Romita Jr. I was just missing the one issue from Hell and Back, number 5. Got that. At some point I want to do a Jim Lee review, but I have a few Uncanny X-Men issues, and really just want to cover my favorite Jim Lee period, honestly, it's kind of like Rob Liefeld, when Rob Liefeld was doing X-Force and early Youngblood. With Jim Lee, for me, it's X-Men and early Wildcats. So that's what I'll be reviewing when I do Jim Lee. I realized I only had the first issue of the original X-Men series. Back in the day, I had them all. I actually stopped buying them around issue 10, right? This one here. And then moved on to Image, right? Not realizing there was one more Image Jim Lee issue left, issue 11. But these were not in the dollar bin, so they're a little pricier, I realized today. And it just hurts me a little bit because I did have these, but I lost them at some point. So not super expensive, but yeah, having to pay again to get these comics, which is fine because, again, I'll be going through them and reviewing them. X-Men number 3. It's definitely a snapshot of the early 90s comic book excitement, right? Issue number 7 with Omega Red. The actual first appearance of Omega Red was actually pretty expensive, so I'll see if I can find a reader copy at some point. This, I'm going to have to go back. It's a crossover, so I got to find the issues that take place in Ghost Rider or Hearts of Darkness. I'm not exactly sure how that crossed over specifically. This is a fun one where Ghost Rider gets taken over by the Brood. And of course, as I showed you guys before, issue number 10. All right, guys, that is it for this comics haul. So everyone out there who's subscribed, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It helps us out, helps the channel grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comics just like we are. So everyone out there who's watching, thank you for doing so and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.